Well, if you travel Ontario's highways, you've likely noticed transport trucks have slowed down since the speed limiter legislation came into effect. That was 2 years ago. But you've probably also spotted some trucks still capable of traveling at a high rate of speed and passing other motorists with ease. CTV's Megan Furman joins us now with more on why this is happening in part one of a special series on truck speed limiters. Megan?
Well, Kyle, most trucks in Ontario have an internal device capable of limiting their speed, and under provincial law, they're required to use it. It was a move that fueled anger in the industry. The province's decision to put the brakes on how fast big rigs can travel.
We've been opposed to this regulation, this legislation from day one.
But despite protests, the speed limiter legislation came into effect January 2009, and it meant most transport trucks traveling in Ontario were required to set their electronic limiters to 105 kilometers an hour, a way, the province said, to reduce accidents and cut greenhouse gas emissions.
It's about safety. It's also about the environment. And the statistics are clearly on the side of the legislation.
Now, more than 2 years later, some trucks are still skirting the law, giving themselves the ability to travel as fast as they want.
Just going to open your door here. We're going to be testing your vehicle speed limiters.
The Ministry of Transportation tells CTV News the latest inspection results suggest almost 1 in 7 trucks on Ontario's roads are still non-compliant.
For the most part, I find that they're set, but there is still quite a few that aren't.
Meaning either the electronic governor capable of limiting the truck speed hasn't been set to 105, or the driver has found a way to get around it. Bypass systems like these are conveniently accessible over the internet, easily installed inside the cab. Transport Canada aware of that?
Transport Canada is, and so is the MTO, that there are means and ways to tamper with the engine. There is legislation in place to deal with that.
When the law first came into effect, truckers were given a 6-month grace period before they had to comply. The Ministry of Transportation then stepped up enforcement. Numbers provided to CTV News show roughly 15,000 inspections have been done since then, and just over 2,000 tickets have been handed out. But some truckers say not everyone is slowing down.
I know there's a lot of trucks out there that don't have speed limiters on them because I get my doors blown off every day practically.
Others also point out 15,000 inspections is too little when you consider annual truck traffic. According to the MTO, more than 6 million trucks used Ontario's international border crossings in 2009.
Turn it till it goes in.
These inspections were being done for the media last week, but some drivers rolling in say it doesn't happen often enough.
First time for me, so how many more out there that haven't been checked?
The MTO says it has roughly 40 officers who have the training to inspect speed limiters, and the number of inspections they complete is partly based on resources and workload. We should also mention the MTO says it has not charged any drivers with using a tampering device so far.
All right, now, Megan, so why are some truckers opposed to the speed limiter law in the first place? It allows them to travel 105 kilometers an hour. That is still above the posted speed limit on most Ontario highways.
Well, there are a number of different arguments, including privacy and liability issues. Truckers also say they are the least likely to be speeding. Tomorrow at 6, we'll lay out some of that debate. And on Thursday, we'll show you what we found when we hit the roads with our own radar gun. Kyle?
All right, looking forward to that. Thank you, Megan. Well, they're only allowed to go so fast here in this province, but as we first told you last night, some truck drivers in Ontario are ignoring the speed limiter law and giving themselves free rein of the roads. CTV's Megan Furman joins us now with part 2 of our Over the Limit series. Megan, tonight we are looking at why some truckers are not setting their limiters.
That's right, Kyle. Ontario and Quebec are the only ones in Canada that mandate speed limiters, but most trucks traveling inside the 2 provinces are still required to use them. Like many Ontario highways, the speed limit is one number, the actual rate of traffic is another. But it's specifically trucks that have had their gas pedals handcuffed, and not everyone is happy about it.
They're limiting what the trucks can drive, but seems like they're not doing anything about what the cars can do, and I don't think that's fair.
The speed limiter law requires most trucks in Ontario to engage an internal device that prevents the truck from going any faster than 105 kilometers an hour. critics have plenty of objections.
I don't like the program. It's made the highways more dangerous than what they were before.
A broad concern, but one that has some legitimacy to it.
Each piece of highway is different.
A simulation study by the University of Waterloo concluded speed limiters provide safety results when traffic is at its lightest. But it also found when traffic volume grows and the interaction between cars and trucks increases, accidents become more likely.
They get behind a slower moving truck and then they have to avoid or change lanes to move to a faster lane.
Safety concerns other provinces have noted too.
I think the feeling is that there again, having speed governors may actually be more dangerous, and that if a truck does have a situation where it actually needs to speed up to either pass a vehicle or to maneuver itself around a potentially dangerous situation, the power is there.
Here in Ontario, not everyone in the industry is opposed to the legislation. In fact, the Ontario Trucking Association says it had been pushing politicians to make speed limiters mandatory for years. The CEO of one of Canada's largest trucking companies says limiters keep his drivers focused and reduces fuel consumption. And as for the argument the law makes the roads more dangerous,
I say hogwash to that, because our trucks have been speed limited since the 90s, as many other major companies have, and we have not experienced that issue.
in fact, studies suggest 77% of trucks in North America already had some type of speed limiter before Ontario's legislation passed. Still, critics of the law say speeding is not the issue.
The fact that government is mandating something that industry is already doing.
The Owner-Operators Association of Canada also points to collision statistics like these, a 2007 Ministry of Transportation report that shows of the nearly 500,000 vehicles involved in accidents on Ontario's roads, about 4% were trucks, while passenger cars accounted for almost 70%. Some truckers have also voiced concerns about the reliability of the tool the ministry uses to test that the limiter has been set, obviously worried that it could damage the expensive engine, but the MTO says they have no evidence of that.
All right, now, Megan, so quite a few arguments, both for and against, and we're getting the calls both for and against to our newsroom, too, on this. But what happens, though, when these trucks leave Ontario for a province or state that doesn't have the same law?
Well, one issue both sides brought up is the inconsistency truckers face when traveling throughout North America. If they travel to the U.S., some states have highways where you can go as fast as 120 kilometers an hour. It's important to note that even if trucks don't have a limiter, it doesn't necessarily mean they are going to speed, just that they have the ability to. Tomorrow we'll have the results after we hit the streets with our own radar gun.
As we told you earlier this week, some truck drivers aren't obeying the speed limiter law that requires them to drive 105 kilometers an hour or less. So just how fast are they driving? CTV's Megan Furman joins us now with the final part in our Over the Limit series. Megan?
Well, Kyle, unless trucks are dealing with hills, the MTO says a correctly installed speed limiter should restrain them from going any more than the 105. It's been in place for more than 2 years, but not everyone is complying.
Not all of them have been caught yet.
Since January 2009, the Ministry of Transportation has handed out more than 2,000 tickets to truckers they say are ignoring the speed limiter law.
When he hits the gas pedal, if it's going more than 105 kilometers an hour, he's going to know.
I don't think the defense of ignorance is so much a defense anymore.
This MTO report shows one truck inspection found the vehicle was capable of traveling 87 miles or 140 kilometers an hour. That's 35 kilometers an hour faster than what the law allows. Using a speed radar gun, CTV News hit the road to see just how fast trucks are moving. Within 20 minutes along a straight stretch of the 401, we found 3 trucks going between 2 and 10 kilometers faster than the speed limiter law. But still, the more we checked, the more we found most trucks are driving 105 or a little less. In fact, it's not hard to see it's other types of vehicles that are pushing the pedal way past the highway limit. But whether behind the wheel of a car or truck, most drivers we spoke with say they have noticed one big difference since the law came into effect.
Well, they pretty much use 2 lanes. I think some of them probably have a harder time passing at the 105 speed.
You've got cars coming up trying to pass them, and for miles and miles you can't.
Some of those opposed to the law are demanding evidence it's doing what the Ministry of Transportation said it would, making the road safer and cutting greenhouse gas emissions. We asked the MTO for some recent statistics, but we're told they're not available yet.
The benefits, I mean, we're still collecting data. I know 2 years seems like a long time that we don't really have any clear data, but it really isn't when you're dealing with crash statistics and stuff like that.
So no word yet on when that data will be available, but a lot of people, especially truck drivers, say they're anxious to see the results and how they were calculated.